All right, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for this great and wonderful and important announcement about how we are working and deepening our efforts to help small businesses within Baltimore City. Economic development is something that is near and dear to me, especially when we are referencing develop our own very contractors in the city of Baltimore, and when we are providing more opportunities that are equitable for our community. I want to acknowledge some of our partners and our small and minority women business owners who have joined us today. First, Director Mitchell and the entire DPW team who are here today, including Dina Joyce and Darnell Ingram, who you will hear from shortly. Todd Jefferson, President of TE Jeff Incorporated. Nicole Ford, Vice President of TE Jeff Incorporated. Huron Winstead and Kerwin Watley from the Winstead Management Group. Mr. Robert Harrington from R.E. Harrington Plumbing and Heating Company. Joe Ellen Sines, Vice President of Business Development for M. Louise Construction Company. Keith Adams. Oh, does Mr. Keith go that fast? Oh, he's in the back, yeah. From K&K Adams Incorporated, Lindsey Johnson from L&J Waste Recycling, and Martha Marmo Fernandez from Rowan Concrete Incorporated. DPW's Unbundling initiative is Baltimore's step in the right direction to help expand the capacity of our local and diverse contractor community. This initiative will create opportunities for Baltimore-based small businesses to receive on-the-job training by partnering with the Prime to provide utility service on DPW water contracts. This initiative also will help contractors train small businesses to become general contractors to work on DPW utility projects, build and grow the capacity of Baltimore small businesses by offering get-on-the-job training, administrative support, safety monitoring, field support, access to bonding and working capital, and so much more. And as mayor, it is my hope and my expectation that this unbundling initiative will help at least 10 Baltimore-based small and minority women-owned business enterprises, create at least 5 Baltimore-based general contractors, and afford them the opportunity to bid on $10 million annually, if not much more, contracts for us here in the city of Baltimore, and that we generate more to spend that will benefit Baltimore-based small and minority businesses here in our great city. This is about us breaking down these large contracts so that these businesses that are operated here in the city, that employ people that live in our neighborhoods, that create pathways for folks who, quite frankly, so many are afraid to hire and don't want to touch. These folks do that work each and every day, and what we are doing here today is helping them to expand that opportunity to work with us, their city government, in the city that they truly believe in, because this is where they invest their time, their money, their energy, and have their businesses, and why we are here talking about this today. And with that, I will now turn it over to our wonderful DPW Director, Dr. Jason Mitchell.
Good afternoon, and first I just want to say thank you, Mayor Scott. We are truly here because of his vision to ensure that Baltimore get a bite of the apple, and making sure that with the infrastructure that we do, that Baltimoreans are getting that work, and that work is regenerated here in our communities, and it's very important. As you know, DPW is one of the largest agencies in the city. We have thousands of miles of infrastructure underground, and this unbundling initiatives will redistribute in an equitable way contracts here in DPW. We remind, as part of DPW mission, is equity in all we do, and this is going towards that goal and that plan of doing equity. It will improve access to small women and minority contractors to be able to do some of the great work here in a city that people have grown up and loved, and to be able to work in the same streets where they used to play and be able to benefit those communities is very important. And I'm excited to work with many of our small businesses, many of our medium-sized businesses, but also with a great team here in DPW that's doing this work under the vision of our great mayor, Mayor Scott. And so I just want to thank you all and Mayor, for your vision. This is very important work. And then just thank you, and I want to turn it over to Dina Joyce, which is our Chief of DPW, Office of Boards and Commission. We'll go a little bit more in detail about this excellent program, and thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Dina Joyce. I personally want to thank the mayor for his leadership and being a fearless leader to actually help us with the Unbundling initiative. If it were not, and he didn't believe in it, we would not have this initiative go forward. Director Mitchell, thank you for believing and passing the baton to Darnell Ingram and I to continue to do the work. We have Joseph Cabetta, who's our bureau head. This work comes under his shop and his team. And Deputy Administrator Johnson, really, I'd like to thank you for the traction that you've given to us to make this move forward. So, our partners, AECOM, thank you for your patience. David, thank you for all your what-ifs that you asked us during every meeting. Kerwin Watley, Huron Winstead of the Winstead Management Group, you have been invaluable. I know that I keep you up and call, but back to this initiative. This initiative for DPW was intentional. It's intentional to be equitable, inclusive, and fair. And in the words of Mr. Marco Merritt, our DPW mantra is equity in all we do. Phase one of this initiative is mentoring and training. We'll train smaller firms and smaller size firms to become general contractors. Phase two of this will be for the city to unbundle contracts that are appropriately sized so that these firms can bid as general contractors. So we just would like to thank everyone. Thank you, Mayor, again, and thank you for your time. Passing it over to Todd.
Well, first and foremost, certainly would like to thank the mayor and his colleagues and all those who worked behind the scenes, who really fought tooth and nail for this program to be put in place. It has certainly been a long day coming. With the unbundling of these contracts, it makes it possible now for the smaller MBE, the WBEs, to provide not just sustainability to its business, but to ensure that we're not just getting a small slice of the pie. You see, and with the rise in inflation today, that small slice is cut real thin. No, when we unbundle these contracts, we have an opportunity to grow now. We'll be able to showcase many of the talents of my minority contractors, their skills. But more importantly, we're able to build a working relationship with the city directly. You see, in the past, it's been the same old cycle, that same old large revolving door, the same few large companies being awarded the same contracts, whether they're right here locally or they're out of state. It's the same companies that continue to prosper, to gain the experience, the same companies that are able to hone their skills because they have the work. Now, it shouldn't be that only a selected few are privileged to eat at the city's table. You see, by unbundling the contracts now, we've made it possible for more to have a seat at the table. And I'm not talking about the kitchen table where we put our snacks. I'm talking about the dining room table. You see, when given the opportunity to participate in this unbundling initiative, we're going to need help too. And companies like us, along with the 1,000 plus minority MBE and WBEs that live right here in the city, that are ready and willing to do business with the city, well, soon we're going to be able to hire and empower the citizens right here in Baltimore. You see, this is going to be key to building our city back. In fact, the money made here will stay right here. You live here, you work here, and you're going to spend your money here. You know, my dad once told me something that stuck with me all the way up until this day. He said, son, once you learn a trade, it's something that will stick with you through the rest of your life. No one is going to be able to take that from you. And so to our younger generation, our younger men and women of Baltimore, by all means, take advantage of the opportunity to learn a trade, because the possibilities are endless. Now, why can I say that? Because I'm living proof. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm representing K&K Adams. As a longtime city business, K&K Adams, oh, sorry, Aaron Sheriff Smith, representing K&K Adams, for Mr. Keith Adams over there. As a longtime Baltimore City business, K&K Adams is very excited to see the city continue to expand opportunities for small, local, women and minority-owned businesses to have access to the massive amounts of infrastructure projects the city bids out each year. The goal of every small business is to be able to grow and take on their own projects, and unbundling DPW contracts will create that opportunity to step up. Being able to bid directly on city contracts will allow local companies to build their bonding capacity, which will make them more competitive both within the city and beyond. Being able to show success on these contracts will allow small, local, minority-owned businesses to have greater access to capital, to buy more equipment, and to hire more employees. We applaud the city and the DPW leadership in taking another positive step forward for local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a blessing. This is a blessing. I'm Darnell Ingram, the General Counsel and Chief Compliance Officer of Baltimore City's Department of Public Works. A blessing, and I'll tell you why. The wastewater and water industry is projected to grow over $300 billion, close to $500 billion by 2029. And we all know about climate change. Increasing competition has led key players to improve their water and wastewater treatment services networks so that these global players can strategically acquire local players to stay competitive in the market. And Baltimore City must now do the same. Key partnerships are critical in this industry. In my tenure here, I've been, Dr. Mitchell has been requiring me to attend conferences. Key, what I've seen is they don't look like me. They don't look like you. This is an industry that has been controlled and selected for a group of people for many decades. But now we've seen that communities like Baltimore City, the diverse communities like Baltimore City, can benefit from this growing industry, as well as participate in our response to climate change. As a former business owner and process engineer, this pilot will build on the city's effort to build capacity of contractors and engineer consultants in our local community, such as providing administrative support, bonding capacity, and financial assistance when needed. And so I'm elated to have the trust of Mayor Scott and Dr. Mitchell to work with our team to stand up this pilot and this initiative. And I thank you for your support. Blessings to you.
And we also would like to thank our infrastructure czar and former Deputy DPW Director Matt Garbark for his work to support this initiative as well. And I think we heard it, and nothing, Mr. Jefferson said it best. When you work here, you live here, you're going to spend your money here. And that's why this initiative is so important for us. And we're looking forward to working with all of our small, medium, and minority and women-owned businesses as we roll this out to make it an actuality on the streets and in our contracts. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll take some questions. Once he cuts it on. Oh, yeah. Hold on, you good. Now you're good. Light's green now.
And this is for you, Mr. Mayor, and for everyone. It's one question per media outlet, and it's subject matter only.
Come on. Ma'am?
How you doing? Just trying to get some more specifics on whether we know, what specific contracts will be unbundled at this time. Is it
Well, we
only
can
within
talk about the
DPW?
types, but not the
Yeah.
specific ones. I'll let the director and Darnell talk about the different types of contracts. We clearly can't talk about specific ones until we get through that process.
Right, is it only within
legal.
DPW or is it in other city agencies
So this
as
is
well?
DPW for now, and we're going to be working to expand that. But Darnell, you can, or director, which one? Come on, director, walk us through the different types.
No, thank you. Again, Jason Mitchell for the record. We're going to be starting with our water infrastructure. As you know, what's critical is to reduce our water main breaks, we have to address upgrading our water infrastructure. So our first contract is going to be around our water utility infrastructure and doing replacement of those water lines.
Next, Mackenzie, you got questions? No, go ahead. Let her ask whatever she wants to ask.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Well, I have a couple of different topics, but one on DPW within Clean Core. I know that the City Council will be holding a hearing on the Clean Core program at 4:30 this afternoon. And looking at some of emails that we obtained shows that the City Council members were pushing for various Clean Core I guess, communities to be cleaned up using that program. Can you just elaborate on how each neighborhood was chosen, and then how do you see the city actually holding those nonprofits accountable for the work that they're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I think it's a couple things, right, for you, Mackenzie. The neighborhoods that were chosen, obviously, for me, is always going to be based in equity, but also 311, right? We know which neighborhoods where there's illegal dumping because residents have been complaining about that for years. And when you think about the neighborhoods that were chosen, right? When you think about Park Heights and Park Heights Renaissance, when you think about the West Side and Upton, which those folks are out working, some of the young men sent videos about what they've been doing already. When you think about Chum, when we first started, you think about Broadway East. These are neighborhoods, Westport. These are neighborhoods that anybody that knows anything about trash and illegal dumping in Baltimore know that that's where it happens at. And we'll be holding them accountable the same way by going out and making sure that our inspectors are going out and the folks are going out to looking to see that that work is done and continuously done. That's why we ask them to send us the before and after shots so that we can see that information. But I think that we would be remiss in talking about Clean Core and not talking about the complexity and completeness of this issue. This isn't just simply about the trash, right? This is about something that, as I said, I know you guys didn't show up to the announcement, but as I said at the announcement, communities in Baltimore have been asking for at least the 16, almost 17 years that I've been working in City Hall, that the city partner with them directly on how to clean up their neighborhoods, working with them in CDCs and community groups so that they can employ people that live in those neighborhoods, folks that may be trying to re-enter back into their community to be a part of this. So not only are these folks already out there cleaning up, and if you're looking for folks who have a longer experience around that, go over to Chum and talk to Marsh Washington. He'll tell you exactly how Clean Core has been going.
I believe we were at that announcement, but for DPW Director Jason Mitchell, do you believe that some $15 million would have been better spent given to you?
Well, the question, I'll answer that question. Right? DPW has the funding that they need. This is a both and, right? We have to also, again, be reminded of the changing nature of work, that every contractor that we deal with on the private sides has the same kind of issues that DPW has around hiring people. And what I would expect from you, Mackenzie, is a story about how DPW is having recruitment classes over and over, and we need more people to be a part of that so that you guys can be a part of the solution to the problem. We're saying that the city has the money. We're willing to pay people. The jobs are there. Let's go out and get people to be there. Let's run that on the news. Let's promote that on your guys' Instagram page to say over and over and over, the city needs solid waste workers. So we're expecting Sinclair to cut that money and cut that out for us later on this evening.
Well, speaking of both, and on the radio this morning, you were talking about education funding and the debate over the boost funding. I asked you that question, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, about where you stood on the boost funding. Do you believe that the funding should be kept in the budget? I know Governor Moore is proposing to cut $2 of the $10 million program. You said that educational options are important.
They are.
Do you believe that the boost program should stay fully funded?
I think that I'll say what I said this morning, right? We have to make sure that, and I know this governor will do that, to make sure that we're doing whatever we can to make sure that parents in Baltimore, and of course I'm talking solely about the city of Baltimore, have the options that they want. But we also have to be very careful when we're talking about a budget environment, not just for the state but the city, that also has other things coming. When you think about what we're having to go with here in Baltimore and Prince George's, and how we're now having to go and look at our budgets in a different way so that we can support our public schools, right? That the funding must go up this year. When we were talking about education funding, we cannot put one against the other. It is a both and I have no doubt that the governor will be able to work that out so that it is a both and, so that our public schools that have been underfunded for generations get the funding that they need, and that folks who want that option have that option as well. And we look forward to seeing and hearing from the governor's folks as they work to do that. But I have no doubt that they will.
So will you lobby to make sure that that funding stays?
Well, my lobbying first is going to be about how we can get the funding for Baltimore City Public Schools that we need and deserve, and everything else comes second to that. Anybody else? All right, thank you. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you back there, man.
Yeah, YPR, you had mentioned phases. Can you say when phase one is going to start and when we can actually see some of these contracts going to some of these businesses?
Come on. Good afternoon. Great question. Phase one will start this summer. Doing our CMAR, our infrastructure committee has approved us to have a construction manager at risk project to solicit prime contractors to oversee the program and support in the city in this initiative. That'll be phase one, and we'll do some outreach networking events to build momentum for contractors to bid, and then phase two will start shortly after, maybe end of this year, beginning of next year.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we know which small contractors will be involved in the mentorship piece of it yet? And is phase one that part?
Yeah, that's part of what you just hear Darnell talking about, right? We obviously, the folks that are with us today, we know that they're gonna be talking about being involved, but we have to do that outreach to others to see how, what they're doing and whether they want to be a part of the program, and that's why we have to do that deep work. And that's not easy work. We have to go to these people, talk to them, have the conversations about them, their capacity, all of those things, and we're looking forward to doing that, because that's how we will grow a more robust ecosystem of these businesses in the city. Thank you. Anybody else? Thank you, everybody.